believe it is getting close to summertime. And that means the very first annual Stanley County Youth Camp meeting, June 15th, 16th, and 17th. Brother Kenny Baldwin, Brother Jason Garner, they're coming to preach. We got things lined up. We're excited. I want you to pray, and I want you to come to the Friendship Baptist Church campus, June 15th, 16th, and 17th for the very first Stanley County Youth Camp meeting. I want you to pray God would do a great work, souls to be saved, and lives to be changed. Y'all, this is Clint Louie. It's a beautiful day, and I'm excited to be with you for 5 minutes from friendship. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, I would love for you, send me a message, email, comment on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're watching this at. Subscribe to Apple Podcast or to Spotify, wherever you're getting this at. But just let us know you're there. Send us your suggestions, your questions, your ideas. I want you to be a part of 5 minutes from friendship. I want you to be involved in it. Now, that being said, I want to talk to us today about praying, about prayers, and your prayers being answered. Do you want your prayers to be answered? Well, I expect you do. We all do, right? I mean, why pray if we don't expect them to be answered? How do you get your prayers answered? How do you get prayers answered? Dr. John R. Rice, I got his book here in front of me. He said, prayer is asking and receiving. It's not just asking. It's asking and receiving. And it's a wonderful statement. Prayer is asking and receiving from God. Wonderful truth. But how do you get your prayers answered? How do you get your prayers answered? I have here a little prayer journal. What it is just a place where I can write down on one side of the page, I can write down a prayer request on one side. And then on the other side, I can write down the answers to those prayers. So I have a record of the request and then a record of the answer. And that'll encourage your faith. I'd encourage you to put that into practice. Well, the other day, I was, Sunday morning, April 16th, I was praying before the Sunday morning service, and I asked the Lord to save a soul here at the church. And we went through the Sunday morning service, and as far as I know, nobody made a profession of faith in Christ. Later that afternoon, I got a phone call. You see, another church in town, a good, sweet church, they come over here occasionally to use our baptistry to baptize people, which is wonderful. Phone call come in. Somebody said, preacher, when that other church was here, somebody got saved. Well, at the time, I didn't think anything about it. I mean, and I said, that's great, that's wonderful. But I didn't really connect the two together. And it hit me later. Wait a minute, I had prayed for somebody to get saved, and then somebody got saved. It didn't happen the exact way I had it worked out in my brain, but it happened because God answers prayer. God answers prayer. And so how do you get your prayers answered? Well, I've got a few things here that I hope will help you. I'm going to give them to you real quickly. Let me give you a verse first of all, Luke 18:1. And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint. Men ought always to pray and not to faint. And I would recommend to you read Luke 17 and 18 so you understand the context and setting of that verse. But nevertheless, men ought always to pray and not to faint. So how do you get your prayers answered? Well, here's a few things. One, pray in faith. Pray believing God. If you don't believe, it's not going to, you're not going to get your prayers answered. God's not going to answer those prayers if there's no faith involved. Pray in faith. Number two, pray specifically. If you need $50, ask for $50. But be specific. Don't just be general. Be specific. It's not just, Lord, bless me, but Lord, this is the very specific need I'm asking for. Number three, pray fervently. Think of fervency like a pot of water boiling on a stove. And that fervency ought to be in your heart. It'll be in your spirit. Pray fervently. Number four, pray according to the will of God. Don't just ask for things selfishly, but ask for things that you know please God. Number five, pray in humility. In other words, be humble before the Lord. That also involves confession of sin. And if we regard iniquity in our heart, the Lord won't hear us. And so we want to confess any known sin. We want to be humble before the Lord and cast all our cares upon Him. And number six, pray with perseverance. It's like kids who ring the doorbell and they go run and hide. Somebody answers the door and there's nobody there. We're not going to ring heaven's doorbell and then just forget about it and go run away and not worry about it anymore. We're going to ring and ring and ring and ring and ring until our prayers are answered. And it's not that perseverance and persistence, it's not that we're twisting God's arm. But rather, the Lord's testing our faith. How serious are we? So those are a few very simple thoughts about how to get your prayers answered. I hope it helps you. I want to thank you for joining me. God bless you. Think about these things, and you have a great day today.